We got a lot to do this evening. I've spent most of my life talking to groups like this at industry conferences. We're going to go hot and heavy, and we're going to get into some detail about housing industry and things that you can do in just a moment. To get started, we're going to talk about Blue Ocean Strategy. Now, how many of you have heard of this? Most of you, I'm sure, have heard of Blue Ocean Strategy. But I'll tell you, it doesn't seem to be that apparent in the operational strategies of most of the home building companies. Home building in general, and also apartment building and apartment rental in general, multifamily, I don't care if you're Lux, high volume, we kind of all participate in pretty much a red ocean strategy. And that's my assessment. When you go and you look at what a blue ocean strategy is and a red ocean strategy, we're kind of all battling it out in a red ocean. And that's a terrible place to be. So what I want to talk about is how do we migrate our thinking and move our businesses to blue ocean strategies? And we're going to try to do that here today. So for those of you who don't know much about blue ocean, we'll get into it real briefly, not super intense, but we'll get into it real briefly. But what it really talks about is how do you maintain growth over time? This week I have to go talk to a board of directors and a group of executives of a manufacturer in the building industry that is 100 years old. And they put on an event that they want me to come to say, but Tim, what do we need to do in the next 100 years? But I started going back, and they were formed in 1920. And in 1920, there wasn't television. There weren't electric streetlights, okay? And this company has somehow figured out how to jive and tackle and, and move and change their business and thrive. And today they're a thriving company. But they're so paranoid about the future, they're ready to change again. And they're ready to continue to change. And that quest for what's next and how do we survive and how do we tack and jive for the future to be successful, I think is what makes them great. And that's what we're going to try to do. Because a lot of Fortune 500 companies have experienced revenue shortfall. About 85% of Fortune 500 companies have experienced kind of stagnant revenues. But only 15% of those companies have ever gotten back to the revenue growth pace that they had when they were younger. They failed to figure out, even the best companies that we have in our whole country, they failed to figure out how to make that pivot. And in times when they're changing, you have to kind of continuously adopt, and you have to be able to do that really fast. So you've got to kind of reinvent your market as you go. And in housing, we live in one of the craziest industries there is. Let's just go back. How many of you were in 2007 and 8 when 75% of our demand just collapsed and went away, right? No industry, right, has that. And then we had 12 years from 2012, about 12 years of just continuous growth. And then we had the pandemic, and we had about 6 weeks where we thought the world was going to collapse. And then we had 2 years where we had 47 people for every home that we could build, and we couldn't get anything done. I mean, we're whipsawed back and forth constantly. So how do we figure out a blue ocean strategy in a market that keeps changing? And what's the risk if we don't? What's the risk if we just keep doing things exactly the same regardless of what's going on in the market? Frustration, anxiety, and lost margin. That's the risk. So we got to figure out how we're going to tack and change. So if you look over there on the right, in the blue ocean strategy, a couple key things. First of all, you create uncontested market space. Uncontested market space. Which means you're going to offer a product in the market. I don't care if you develop, if you're a high-end builder, or if you're a production builder, a first-time builder, if you're an apartment, multifamily type builder, you're going to offer a product that there isn't in the marketplace. Because once you've defined a product that there isn't in the marketplace, then all of the used product in the market, all those existing multifamily developments, all those other developers become completely irrelevant, and consumers will come to you and seek you out, and you won't have to seek them out. That's the most important part of the strategy. And by doing that, you make the competition irrelevant, and you create and capture a completely new demand in the marketplace. And that's what we have to focus on. I know this sounds, kind of, how do you do that? That sounds kind of crazy for our market. We're going to go through this, and we're going to show you exactly how we're going to do this. There are 4 basic control factors within Blue Ocean Strategy. The first thing is you raise industry standards. You raise your standards far above industry standards. You think about, for example, industry standards of 1-year warranty on a home. Not foundation, but the stuff within the home, like 1-year warranty. Even less on some things. What if you have 5-year warranty? It kind of makes everybody else irrelevant. Completely irrelevant. That's just one idea. Next, you reduce things that are industry standard. So let's talk about cycle time, how long it takes you to build homes. Oh, wow, if you could build a home way quicker, you could attract a whole bunch of more people into the marketplace that need to move quickly. And I'm going to show you how important that is in our market today. Create factors which have never existed in the industry. build 400 square foot homes, build 600 square foot homes. You think I'm nuts? I'm going to show you the data of how those are real markets and nobody's building that. Well, somebody is now building that. I'm going to show you who that is. Or go out there and figure out factors which we've long competed on that we should just completely get rid of and no longer compete on that. So you kind of use all these factors to create this whole new value proposition that sits in the middle. And if you're successful at that, then you created a blue ocean strategy. You're going to have higher margins. You're going to have people seeking you out. You're not going to care what the rest of the market is doing. And you're going to find yourself continually growing in that market space. And what's going to happen is people start to copy you. And as they copy you, then you're going to have to continue to innovate and outpace them so that you're always sailing out into this blue ocean and everybody else is just trying to follow you and trying to catch up. But when you've got that nailed, you're the leader in the industry and you're going to have extraordinary margins. Let's load our guns, okay, with real strategies so we can win in 2024. And to do that for you, today, I come up with 8 general concepts in the housing market today that we need to focus on. And I've come up with 22 individual initiatives that you can go out there and execute in your business. We're going to do this in the next 45 minutes. We're going to do this. We're going to go through 22 initiatives, 8 general concepts of things that you can do. So get your pen and paper out, get your camera out, right? Take pictures of this, and I'm going to be at the reception afterwards. So if you want to talk more about this, we can do this. So, you know, Dr. Spock seemed to think that was very logical how that was, so let's go. So the very first thing, the very first concept is embrace the rate-locked market. We are in a rate-locked market. This should be absolutely no surprise to you. Look how stunning it is, okay? 25% of all homeowners today have mortgages below 3%. 60% of all homeowners have mortgages under 4%. 90% of homeowners have mortgages under 6%. Now, you kind of look at this and go, 6% people, if a life event comes along, maybe they still decide to move and they can make that work. But let me tell you, 60% of all people that own homes today are locked in their homes for a very, very, very long time. Now, question, what does that mean? There are less used homes for sale, and we're going to show that. That's exactly what it means. We go out here, this is housing inventory. Before the pandemic, 2017, so 2 years before the pandemic had occurred, housing inventory is going down. Now, this is all housing inventory, so this includes new homes as well. So I have adjusted those lines way before the pandemic and right now to housing inventory levels of just used homes. And if you look at that, if you take about the mean average of that, used home inventory is down 50% across the United States. There are 50% less homes for people to go look at. This is a profound change in the marketplace. A profound change that you should be changing your business for and going, oh my God, the market out there is changing completely. How many of you have changed your business for this? I didn't say how many of you have sold more homes because of this. That's just kind of a natural, I'm in a red ocean, there's more fish, I'm getting more hits on my line. How many of you changed your business? How many of you looked at this and said, oh my God, 50% fewer used homes on the market. I'm now going to fundamentally change the strategy of my business and I'm going to create a blue ocean strategy and I'm going to move way to the left and make all the rest of the people in this room irrelevant to me. I don't see hardly anybody doing that. But this is the first concept. We've got to do this. And that is why, if you look at that little chart that I just popped up there, that's why new home sales have gone through the roof. We now have over 31% of all home sales are new home sales. Nowhere in recorded history since they've been keeping data in the federal government have new home sales ever been near 31%. The lifetime average is somewhere around 15%. On a crazy occasion, we'd get to 20% and think that money was just falling from the trees. We are twice industry average now. And there is nothing on the horizon that says that this is going to change and suddenly there's going to be 1 million homes on the market. So what are we doing about it? Question number 1 to write down for you during this conference is, what are you going to do about it? The lucky thing, we have some of the industry's best experts here. You can begin to ask them questions. You can walk out of here with strategy. Now, you might ask, well, yeah, there's nobody selling homes, Tim, so there's nobody to buy homes. That's poppycock ridiculous. Why do people buy a new home? Life events. 80% of the people who sold a home in the last year and bought a new home, 80% of the people were one of these major life events. Because the life events don't stop happening. Do people stop getting divorced? Nope. Absolutely not. Do they stop getting married? Nope. Do they stop having kids? Nope. Do they stop getting new jobs? Nope. This is what's changing. 54% of households had a change in family size. 41% of households, very important issue, remote work. It allowed them to make a life change and move completely away from where they were, which said, I'm going to sell my property, even though I have a 3% mortgage, 4% mortgage, 5% mortgage, I'm going to sell it, I'm going to move. So here's the great news for us. Even though, right, we're all worried about the marketplace, these things aren't stopping. And there's very few used homes. So you're right. We're not going to sell 6 million homes in the United States this coming year. It's not going to happen. We're only going to sell 4 million homes, which is about 5 times more homes than we're going to build. So we got 5 consumers for every home that are going to buy homes next year. We have all the market in the world that we need to flourish if we look at the facts on the table and we adopt our business to it. So that leads to skyrocketing new home sales. September set a whole new record. Analysts are going, my God, this is incredible. New home sales are going through the roof. At the very same time, this is builder sentiment. It's going through the floor. You know why? Because we look at this in a red ocean lens. Because we're not looking at the market as an incredible opportunity. When you have 4 million people that are going to buy in homes and there are no used homes to buy, I don't care if it's an 8%, 9%, 10%, 11%. My first mortgage was at 19.25%, and guess what? I bought a home at 19.25%. My second home I bought was at 17%. I thought it was a deal. Okay? Now I know, look, you're a lot of gray-haired people out here. How many of you had a mortgage above 15%? Raise your hands. Come on, don't be ashamed of it. And when you're going, oh my God, it's so great. We got a mortgage. I only have to pay 1/5 of the price of the home every single year in interest. How awesome is this? Now, this is one of these things we're going to be telling our millennial children. You know, not only did we walk 2 miles in the snow to school, not wearing a coat because we couldn't afford one, but we got a 20% mortgage when they're crying about their 7% mortgage they have to go get, right? It's just something we're going to have to do. The challenge here is there is stress. Customers are upset. They don't like the fact that there are 8% mortgages out there, right? They may be picky. They're went out to look for homes and there weren't very many homes for sale, right? So customers might be really cranky in this market. And that's wearing off on us. But it's wearing off on us is because we have refused to look at this as the opportunity that it is and sail into the blue ocean. Tip number 1, initiative number 1, what can we do? Last spring, I was at this conference talking to this group, and the number 1 thing I said is, look, who was here at the last conference? Okay, you can verify. I said, look, we have a gargantuan advantage over used homes, and it's called financing. Because you can advertise in the MLS that you have a home that has a 6.9% interest rate or a 5.9% interest rate. And it may be a buy down, and it may only be a buy down for 3 years or 4 years or whatever, right? But you can get people into that home and you can advertise that. The used market never does that. They don't know how to advertise it. It's individual properties. You have a massive advantage. And I know there's folks here from FBC. If you don't know how to do this, if you don't have a partner that can do this, there are experts at this conference that can help you understand how to do this. So first, it's not too late. 6% interest rate, 6 homes left. You don't tell me that you won't get 57 calls this weekend if you put that in the MLS, if you advertise that, you absolutely will. And by the way, what's interesting to watch is as interest rates started to go up, what people thought an acceptable interest rate was. At first, it was 4%, then it was 4.5%, then it was 5%, then it was 5.5%. Now they think a 6% interest rate loan is a great loan to have. Now, 9 months ago, they thought a 6% loan was a terrible loan to have and it was a disaster and they were going to wait. It just takes time. We'll boil the frog and we'll get them a 19% loan pretty soon and they'll think it's fantastic, right? It just takes time to boil the frog. But we have this advantage, so we have to use this advantage. An analyst was explaining why we sold so many new homes, and they went right at it. They said, well, you sell so many new homes because builders can buy down interest rates. Even the analysts now get it. And if you listen to Sheryl Palmer, who's the CEO of Taylor Morrison, she just had her 3rd quarter call. She just went through it. She covered this in depth. 94% of their closings have a buy down on interest rate. Their average interest rate last quarter is 5.5%. And what did it cost them? 1% in margin. That woman is brilliant. That woman knows how to sail into a blue ocean and create that blue ocean. And she's sitting there going, I think this is a great market. We're going to sell all the homes. We're going to grow next year. That's what she's telling Wall Street. She's not crying with sentiment of 40 going, oh, the market, oh, 8% more, I don't know what we're going to do. Oh, the sharks are going to eat me. Shark ate all my bait, and that's all the bait I had. No. She sailed into a blue ocean. She created her future for her company, and she continues to do that. So I'm trying to show you here's strategy, and here are leaders that are actually executing the strategy. So it's not nonsense. You can say, oh, what does he know? He doesn't. Look, I'm just telling you that some of the smartest people in the industry are already doing this, and it works. It means record profits. It means record sales. So strategy number one. Strategy number two, you got to up your spec home game. Okay, I know you're sitting there, spec homes at 8%? I can't afford to build spec homes, blah, 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 blah. Blue ocean. Why is it a blue ocean? Why are spec homes suddenly important? Because there's no used homes on the market, and some of the people looking for a home actually have to buy. 20% of the housing market is an urgency market. They have to buy a home not 9 months from now if they get a lot and you start the construction and if it's built on time and blah, blah, blah. That's out. They have to have a home in 30 days. 20% of the market, 1 in 5, 20% is 800,000 buyers next year. We're not going to build 800,000 homes. So strategy number two is get your spec house in order. Get some homes out there, know your market, understand where you can go, get spec homes so that buyers can buy and move in quickly. 60% of the buyers have some urgency, which means they may buy a home that's under construction, partially completed. They know there's a completion date, they know there's a timing, right? The rest of the market then, great, you can do build to order all day long and you can run your business. But you've got to look at this opportunity. Why do we look at this opportunity? Because there's no used homes for sale. That market is just sitting there for us if we swim into it. Or we can say, nope, that's not our business. We don't do that. We only do build to order. That's all we're going to do. Fine. Then you're just sitting in the red ocean. You're just throwing chum in the water and hoping that somebody's going to bite your hook. And your hook's bouncing into everybody else's hook three times a week. Number two. Now, on top of that, one other thing that we need to understand is that 71% of new home buyers, these are people last year, in the last 12 months, that bought a new home, but they didn't start their search thinking they were going to buy a new home. The reason they didn't start their search buying a new home, they had no idea that new homes were available. Do you know what a spec home does? It solves that, because you know where a spec home ends up? It ends up in the MLS, which ends up in every single realtor's website, which ends up in Realtor.com, which ends up in Zillow. It ends up everywhere. Which means if I do anything online, just say, I wonder if there's any homes for available in Buckeye, Arizona, guess what? Your spec home's going to show up. So we got to get our act together with respect to making sure that our solutions are visible to consumers. All right. Now we're going on to concept B. We got to eliminate the objections of new. You might say, well, what objections are there of new? There's plenty of objections, and the number one objection of new is really simple. The objection of design and selections process has perpetually been in the number 1, 2, or 3 spot for the last decade. When you interview people, why were you not interested in buying a new home? Top 1 or 2 spots every single time for the last decade, they go, oh God, I just didn't feel like I could do the design and decorating thing. I can't do that. So we got to think out of the box there. And how can we think out of the box? Well, there's some things that we can do. Now that is combined with some brand new data, and the brand new data says now that 35% of all consumers that bought a home in the last year wanted to design their home from scratch. 100% make all the decisions themselves. It's a record high number. So we got 2 things going on. Perpetually, we have this problem with consumers saying, oh my God, that's overwhelming and intimidating. And on the other hand, we got more and more consumers going, I want to design these homes from scratch. There's a pinch point coming here. And if we can solve that, we can create a blue ocean strategy. We also know that 56% of consumers expect some customization in the process. So why don't we offer them what they want? Why don't we offer them a virtual design center? Virtual design centers have been around for more than a decade. This is not new technology at this point. There are multiple vendors for this. We know that 85% of consumers that use them prefer it over the physical design center. We know they spend time on it. And here's the great part. We know they spend 30% more money on options using a virtual design center than a physical design center. And it's the psychology of self-selection. It's the psychology of you selling yourself on things. You see, when you're at home and you're looking at all those options and you see that Italian stove that's $6,000, you suddenly feel like you deserve it. No. And you sit there and go, but they can't afford it. No, because they just found another way to put $500 more down on the home, and now suddenly they can afford it. But when they're sitting in your design center and you're sitting there going, you wanted an Italian stove, it's $5,000. You see, there's an immune response. You're selling me something now, right? And maybe I'll buy one thing, but I'm not going to buy two. And if you sell me three things, then I really start to get nervous and I'm spending too much, right? Let them suffer from the Amazon syndrome. The reason Amazon works is nobody sells you anything on Amazon. You sell it all to yourself, and we're all suckers, right? So turn the tables on them. Let them self-service themselves. Now, how is this going to help us later on in our strategies? All of a sudden, capital light. You have to build a huge design center someplace? No, you don't have to build a huge design center. Could you have fewer designers, which we can't even hire because we've got labor shortages everywhere? So we can have fewer designers, smaller design centers, or no design centers, right? I mean, you can start to rip through your business and create a completely different strategy that makes you a different company. So virtual design centers. Number 4, monitor and manage your reputation. There's a shitstorm out there, and if you don't know what it is, then you need to do something really simple. Right now, I'll let you do it. Grab your phone, Google your own name, Google your company's name and reviews, right? It's real simple. Yeah, you won't, and if you've done it, don't bother to do it again because I don't like to see grown men cry, right? So, you know, and I'll start crying with you, right? Because it's just terrible. There is absolutely, right, a shitstorm of stuff out there. And there's nothing you can do about the shitstorm of stuff is there, but you can manage your reputation. We know that 92% of customers trust this stuff. We know that they won't even look at, 34% of people won't even look at a product if they don't see reviews. We know that Gen Zs and millennials trust third-party reviews more than they trust the opinions of their family and friends. They believe it's more accurate. And you know that. You can see the behavior. Where do they go to eat? Where do they go to buy? The first thing they do is they go online and start looking at reviews. This stuff lasts forever. You go out there today and look at builder reviews and tricks, and you see all this stuff from way back in 2008. You see this stuff from the COVID when we were canceling contracts on people. That stuff never goes away. It's not like YouTube goes, oh, that's old, I'll take that down now. No, it stays out there, and it stays out there forever. So that's the problem with the internet. It's a perpetual history of every mistake we've made as an industry, right? And you know, I've anonymized everything here, but these are let's just call it 10 of the top 50 builders that are up here, and all of the different organic search results, and whether they're good or bad. And red means bad, and green means good. And it's just terrible. There's a million places you can go today if you're mad at a builder. And the problem is, most people that are mad at a builder today will take some form of action. Now, you may have 99% customers that are happy. Guess what they don't do? They don't interrupt their busy day and go, yo, you know what, John D. Homes, I should go out there on Yelp and say that they did just a wonderful job today. No, they don't do that. But if you don't answer their call, they jump on Yelp immediately and go, oh, let me tell you, they're just terrible. They never respond to everything. And by the way, even when it gets fixed, how many people go back and go, oh, sorry, they were fine and we resolved it? None of them. So you've got to manage this. You've got to do something about it, right? And in this case, look, I typed in Century Communities. I love Century Communities. They're a fabulous builder, but this is what you get. It's terrible. 1-star reviews, things about defects. And by the way, half of these things, 90% of these things, I'm sure they were fixed. I'm sure the homeowners are fine now, but they live forever. It's a point in time when somebody was angry and they vented. So what do we do about this? There's all kinds of companies out there that will help you, right? First of all, manage your Google reviews. Ask for Google reviews. Actually get them, encourage them. 90% of your people are thrilled with you, so encourage people to actually say all those nice things because that will start to give you a much more balanced perspective, right? And that's fine. Go out there with Alliant or Avid Ratings or a BDX with Trust Builder. Get people to help you with this so that you have a fair shot out there in the marketplace. Concept number C, concept C, eliminate the friction within the customer journey. You know, customers have been telling this for years. They want content and they need content. You know, 43% of customers say, you know, that they would prefer to have a 3D tour than to go actually tour in person. And why is that? Because it saves them a ton of time and it helps them cut through. Because if I go out and tour every single home to see if the floor plan's right and if it works for me, it could take me forever to get through this. I want to cull through all this and figure out the 3 or 4 floor plans that might really work and move on with my process. We know that they want this information. You can look at that. 68% said a virtual tour gives them a better feel of a home's interior than static photos. And I know we're really good at static photos. We've been doing that now for about 30 years, so congratulations. But we need to move on. We've been doing that for a very long time. And buyers that we know that they had 67% say that they want more of these, kind of 3D tours and interactive tours. I don't care how much data you go out there. All the data sources tell us the same thing. We also know, by the way, that 3D tours get 50% more saves on online websites, and they sell 10% faster. So we've got to give them what they're actually looking for. And the good news today, right, is we've got all this incredible content that's out here. Consumers constantly are saying that they waste their time because they've looked at homes that if they had just had better content, they would have known they'd never, which does what? That not only wastes their time, it wastes your people's time. So now your salespeople are dealing with people that had no intention of buying your product because it was completely wrong for them, right? You can pre-qualify all these people so much better. And 73% said that a dynamic floor plan showed a picture of everyone would help them determine whether it was a good fit for them. And look at the stuff that we have out there today that we can use. It's incredible. We can allow people to wander through homes and volumetrically explore homes. We can allow them to change out the materials in homes. They can fall in love with their homes all on their own. And let me tell you, with the labor shortage that we are going to be facing in the next decade here, we're not going to be able to hire enough salespeople. You're not going to hire enough designers. You're not going to be able to hire enough any of the staff that you need. You're going to have to figure out how to change your business to compete in this marketplace. Number 6, let them do it on their own. Look, they all tell us the same thing. 68% of shoppers says that they want to be able to schedule their tours online. So first of all, just ask your website, can they schedule tours online on their website and figure out where they're going? Then 70%, nearly 70% of consumers say they would rather be able to unlock the home on their own and tour at their own time under their own conditions. How many here have virtual tours completely enabled that allow people? So some good builders, there's a few people out there, but I'm looking at this, what is it, 10%, maybe 5% of the builders in here? This is not an expensive proposition. This is not a heavy IT load. But think of all the time that it takes away from your staff and all of the data and information that you're going to be able to collect on this. Another strategy for you to go execute. Number 7, then you can take one further. Again, Taylor Morrison or Taylor Woodrow, another company that, again, Sheryl Palmer, she's out there. They're kind of leading the marketplace, but there's several of them. CBH up in Idaho also does this. They allow their homes to be bought online. No, really, bought online. You can actually put a deposit down on a lot. You can put a deposit down on a plan. In some of these, you can actually go through and configure the home yourselves. They'll give you an exact cost estimate of the home, and you can actually make an offer on that and secure the home online. How many of you have home? How many of you even can reserve a lot online? One builder in this room. So you talk about red ocean strategy, right? There's 300 people in this room. You got 300 people fishing in one hole. You're fishing in a different hole, right? Yeah, tell them it's impossible to do. That would be the best thing you could say right now. Yeah, let me tell you, it's impossible and it doesn't work. That's what he's going to tell you, right? If you've got people online, the difference between being a browser and being a buyer is when they hit that button and they put a $50 deposit online on that lot. It doesn't mean that they're absolutely going to buy that home, but it does mean they're going to come visit you, and it does mean that in their own mind, they're now thinking about themselves living in that community. And that psychological shift is probably the most valuable shift you can possibly make with a consumer in the sales process. Getting them from, I don't know, I'm just looking, to, I want that lot there and I need to go see it and we could live there. And they start thinking now, oh, what kind of house are we going to put on that lot? What would it be like there? How far away is the school? The kids could walk to school from there. You know, that would be great. In the backyard, we could have swing. As soon as they start to personalize it like that, they're done. That fish is on the hook. And it's a blue ocean because nobody else is doing it. Number 8, nobody wants an old junker, so make sure we differentiate between new and used, right? This is really simple. It's advice I've given year after year after year. Some builders actually do this, and they do this really well. Most builders don't. First of all, abolish the word resale in your company. Can you just do that for me? There are new homes and there are used homes. And we work against 1 million people that are trying every single day to make every home a commodity, and that's a real estate agent. Every single real estate agent in the country tells their client, oh, that's so fantastic, how's your new home? Except 99% of them aren't buying a new home. They're buying used homes. But it's in their best interest to consider them all commodities. It's not in our best interest for them to be commodities. Remember, we're blue ocean. We don't even participate in that market. Those old products, we don't deal in that business. We deal in new products. New products that work for a new lifestyle, new products that are more energy efficient, new products that have better technology, right? New products that are healthy for you to live in, new communities that have way better social amenities and recreational amenities than anything you can get in a used neighborhood. That's what we deal with. They're completely separate. So abolish resale, talk about new, and then provide consumers with a really clear view. Why are you better? Why is new better? And look, builders do it. There are builders out there. These are not huge builders. These are small builders. I just went out and Googled it to find out who's actually got content online. But there are builders out there that 10 reasons why to choose new home construction over used. They get it. New, used. Because as soon as you start saying new, used, what? There should be a premium, right? Yeah, there should be a premium. We deserve the premium. We shouldn't be embarrassed by the premium. We should be earning that premium. The whole point of a blue ocean is premium. So we have to educate our consumers, and we have to get this stuff online. All right, strategy D, build what they can't find in the existing market. I love this. This is a picture from China. Look at all those apartment complexes sitting all around. They're all exactly the same. They all have a pickleball court or a tennis court or whatever it is, right, in the center of them, right? They're all the same. Except one guy, he built a ship. Right? And you sit there, wow, that's just stupid. Yeah, stupid smart. Because I'll bet he could find enough people that wanted to live on a ship, right, to be able to sell 100% of his product. He built something that didn't exist. So what do we mean by building something that doesn't exist? We've done this before. We have lessons from the past. You know, we used to build homes with no bathrooms. Try to sell one of those today. They don't work, right? If you're old enough and if you live in a home, I lived in a home that was built in the 1920s, and I remember it used to have one electrical plug in the kitchen. One. What do you do with all your electrical appliances today if you have one plug in the kitchen? And you know what it's attached to? A fuse you screwed in the basement, right? That was a fun job, right? Going down the basement in the middle of the night, right? Trying to figure out where the fuse box was by sticking your finger in it, right? That would light up the room at least, right? That would help you out, right? It's terrible. Think about all the things that we've done. The circuit breakers that screw in, whole house heating, microwaves, walk-in showers, walk-in closets, right? Yeah, we had all kinds of things that we've outdated, we've obsoleted old product before. And the only way to fix that is you got to renovate your home. And good luck with that. Have anybody seen what's happened to renovation prices since the pandemic? They've gone absolutely crazy and through the roof. So the idea that you're going to buy an old home and you're going to completely fix it and renovate it is overwhelming. You're going to see this in just a minute in some recent research. So we've done this before. We can do it again. We've got to get super serious about leveraging technology here. And I'm not talking about putting a video doorbell on your house and a programmable lock on your front door. That is so table stakes. That is not blue ocean. That is barely a pond in your backyard, okay? That is not blue ocean at all. I'm talking about doing something extraordinary to your home, using technology to create a home that's completely different to live in. With automatic blinds, with circadian rhythm lighting, right? With indoor health and air quality monitoring, a house that they can't find anywhere in the marketplace that technology will bring to them. And what the data shows us is that's what the new home consumers are looking for. What we saw is this year, people that bought homes this year, 61% of new home buyers felt that technology, smart home capabilities in the home was really important. Used home buyers, 29%. See, there's a shift going on where they realize how hard it is now to implement all of these technologies into a used home, so they're gravitating to the new home market. But how many of you have an offering that is beyond, let's say, a video doorbell, a smart lock, and let's see, what else would we put in the home? Some pedestrian. John, what else? What other pedestrian? Oh, yeah, guys, sorry, I didn't even realize that was technology. And a programmable thermostat, a Wi-Fi thermostat. Yeah. That's right. That is technology from last decade. I hope you have one of those. That's awesome, right? But you got to have a package beyond that. So we've got to get serious about this technology. Everything from surveillance to monitoring, right, to whole home control, automatic blinds, lighting, right? We've got to get beyond the pedestrian. And what people recognize when they see that is how hard that would be to do in an existing home. And they're already seeing that. That's why they're choosing new. Next thing is with smart energy, right? Energy systems. whether that be solar on the roof, right? Whether it be storage in your home, whether it be arbitrating the market where automatically you're at work and you're getting pinged on your text message to telling you how much money you're making that day from selling money back to the grid because it's a peak demand. You think that's a joke? Let me show you what happened in Texas this year. In Texas this year, people in Austin, Texas were making $150 a day off of their Tesla Powerwalls because Tesla was sitting there automatically arbitraging for them. They're going, oh, wow. We're at peak demand. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and it looks like $2.87 a kilowatt hour is what the grid's willing to buy. So we're going to sell all the energy in your battery pack. Your battery pack isn't that big, but let me tell you, $2.80 a kilowatt hour, it's worth 150 bucks. $150 a day not only pays for that system, it pays for the mortgage, and it pays for the entire home. So if you could build a home that did that, who are you competing with? Where in the MLS do you find that? You don't. It doesn't exist, or at least it exists at no volume that's meaningful. Number 10, leverage the sharing economy. Blows my mind. 44% of buyers this year say they want to rent out their entire home. 41% of them say they want to rent out a portion of their home to generate income. This fundamentally solves a whole economic problem. If I can rent out a portion of my home, then 8% mortgage rates and whatever the mortgage is less impactful to me. But do we build rent-ready homes? So this is the KB Project home. It was at IBS, what, 4 years ago? Do you see that stairway on the right? That's a complete lock-off. Now, when you walk into this home and you don't have it as a lock-off, it looks like a normal home. There's an upstairs to that little thing. It's got a little separate kitchen upstairs. It becomes a little entertainment room, and it's a beautiful home. It's a beautiful layout. It also allows you to close one door and completely seal that off and rent it at any point in time. I was talking to somebody just 2 days ago that bought a Lennar NextGen home in San Diego. And the NextGen home, right, was originally built for multi-generational living, but it's a lock-off unit, right, for privacy. It has its own one-car garage, right, little lock-off unit in San Diego. He rents it for $2,500 a month, 400 square feet. He gets $30,000 a year in income off 400 square feet of his home, and it's completely private. They have their own garage. They have their own entrance. Do we build enough of those? No. Do they exist in the red ocean? Can you go in the MLS and find a bunch of that? No. This is a way to solve that problem. And Lennar's kind of caught on to this. You know, they started NextGen Living about 10 years ago. It's a decade old now, so it's nothing new. But what I found interesting is I went out and looked at how they're talking about it today. And Stuart Miller's a genius. You can say whatever you want about him, but he can be a genius. And his company has a lot of very talented people. And you kind of look at their message, and that first message up on the top, right, is where it starts. And it starts with family and connection and convenience, right, and independence and privacy and all the things you'd expect in multi-generational living. And then it goes, but flexibility. And then it suddenly talks, oh, by the way, when they move out or before they move in, you can use it as a health retreat or a rental, right, or a retreat for yourself or a home school site or a home office, right? So is this really a next generation of living where a home now becomes almost like a Swiss Army knife? It becomes this very flexible, unique thing that can do multiple things, whether it generates revenue or it allows you to work at home, right, in a completely private, locked-off area where you have your own small kitchen and everything, so you don't even have to go into the other side of the house. You can literally go to the office in your home. So they've changed how they're messaging this, right, to become a more of a utilitarian, right, type product. Number E, skate to the pucks. So demographics drives everything. We know demographics drives demand, so there's a couple of things we've got to look at here to understand what we need to be building, right? Number one, we are at a record low number of nuclear families. Nuclear families is not the largest single segment of households. It's not the second largest segment of households. It's not the third largest segments of households. It is the fourth largest segment of households. It is just not a significant portion any longer of how America actually lives. It's 17%. 30% of all households today are single occupant. Think about that. 30% of every household in the United States has one person living in it. And you're going, oh, wow, what's that all about? It's about two ends of a barbell. It's about the fact that men die too early, and you end up with a lot of widows living alone, and we have an aging population. And it's about a Gen Z and millennial population that thinks getting married is a good thing to do when you're 75 years old, right? So you got two ends of a barbell. And the problem is you get married at 75, you only live together for a couple of years, and the guy dies, right? So, I mean, pretty soon we're going to have this narrow time period, right, where there's really more than one person living in the home, right? But it's just the demographics. The demographics are driving this. So, you know, and you can see this in this chart. This shows where the growth is in our society. We have this growth at the far left side of the part, 25 to 44 years old. These are people moving into the housing market, right? Then you got this horrible trough in the middle. So if you are an exclusive move-up builder, you're sucking some really bad tail exhaust right now, right? It is a terrible market to be in. It's a shrinking market of people that are in the middle of their careers. And then you got a whole bunch of people that are aging at the very end of this. So if you're in the active adult area of the market, or, you know, in vacation home area of the market, you're doing very well again. So this is just demographics. This is just a reality of the makeup of our population. So that's the fastest growing. You got the largest gains over there in the large households. So what do we build, though? This is what we build. We build less than 1% of our homes, right, as studios. We build 11% of our homes as one bedroom, right? The vast majority of our homes are 3 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms, and 5 bedrooms, except what I just said was 30% of all people live alone. 53% of all households use 1 bedroom. 53% of all households in the United States, there's 100 million households, that's 53 million households in the United States use 1 bedroom. And what do we build? 3, 4, and 5 bedroom homes. Sitting in a red ocean with a hook with bait on it that has no appeal to the few fish that are left in that ocean. Nuclear families. Move to the blue ocean. So what do? And look what's happening. Oh my God, here we are, rocket science. Stuart Miller has figured this out in San Antonio. What is he building? Lennar, of all people. Look, I love Sheryl Palmer and I love Stuart and some of these large companies, but it is really hard to move those companies. They are huge, huge organizations, and it is hard to get them to change. It is way easier if you're a smaller builder. But who's building 350 square foot homes in San Antonio? Stuart Miller is, Lennar. Now, why would he be doing that? Is it a charity? No. Let me tell you one thing Lennar is not, is a charity, right? Oh, they do charitable things, but it's not charity. He's looking at the same demographics. He's looking at a bunch of really young people that are unmarried, that are in apartments, that have pets, that want a yard. And they can't afford a $400,000 house or $500,000 house. They don't need a house with 3 or 4 bedrooms. It's just like that guy in San Diego that was renting 400 square feet for $2,500 a month. It's the same person. And that guy in San Diego, by the way, that was renting that 400 square feet, is an electrical software engineer working for Qualcomm, making over $100,000 a year. This is no deadbeat. These people aren't deadbeats. They're just people that don't want to live in an apartment anymore. And you can sell them. You might also look at multi-generational design. Why do we look at that? Because at this point, 20% of all households live in multi-generational situations. 1 in 5 households in the United States. So let's go through 2 really important statistics. 53% of all households use 1 bedroom. 20% of all households are living multi-generationally. You're now up to 73% of the entire market, right? We got a really small closing gap here at the end. So if you aren't thinking about building small, if you aren't thinking about building multi-generational, you're dealing with 24% of the market. That's not a great strategy to figure out how to sail into the blue ocean. Strategy F, build a beta where we live. So we already talked about building a whole new house that's smaller. We talked about building a whole new house that might be multi-generational. But now we're going to end up start talking about what we can do inside the home. So several things. These are just a few ideas. First of all, the home office, right? The home is now the office. We know that. How many of you have kids that are no longer required to go to the office every single day? The majority of the world no longer has to go to the office 7 days a week. It's either hybrid, where you go a few days a week, or you don't have to at all. You can live anywhere you want. And if that's the case, then your office is your home. And we're going to talk about what that home office needs to look like. We also know that we don't want to wall ourselves off from the great outdoors. We want to include the great outdoors into the home. So this is another way we can win by building something different that doesn't exist. We know that people want to grow their own food and they care about health in our home. So we can add those kinds of features into our homes because they don't exist in the existing housing stock. We can look at resiliency, self-sufficiency. We can look at kitchens that are, for cooking and have Costco, and dogs need a home too. So let's take a look at a couple of these things. First of all, home is the office, number 13. When I'm talking about home in the office, I'm not talking about at the top of the stairway you have a little nook where there's a desk. That's not an office. I'm talking about an office where we can close the door. And you can talk loudly and be on a conference call and nobody outside the house can actually hear you at all. So I'm talking about engineering a room that has soundproofing in the walls. So it's truly private and truly an office. Where you have remote control, where you can control the lighting in the room. You have automatic blinds so you can lower the blinds. You have a green screen spot that can come down so you can have backgrounds behind your Zoom and it comes up clearly and sharply. You can control everything remotely. You have Wi-Fi penetration throughout the home and even outdoors, so if you're wandering around or you're on a call and you're wandering around the house, nowhere do you get dropped. You actually have a true home office solution. So walk away with a real home office offering. Number 14, kitchens that work. We all shop at Sam's Clubs or Costco, and we build pantries like the 1959 Safeway, right? Where does everybody store their groceries? In their garage. And where does their garage car go? In the driveway. Why? Because their garage becomes their pantry. You've seen it. It happens all over America, right? We've got to start to get serious about how people actually live. So Costco-sized pantries. Everybody's a farmer, so look at all the cool products that are out there now to actually grow produce and grow food inside your home. Small appliances like air fryers, yeah, where do you put them? In the pantry, where you can't put your food because you got all these appliances in your pantry, right? So you need garage space. You need space, large space to store large appliances out of the kitchen so they can have the home beautiful look of uncluttered countertops, right? We got spice kitchens and prep kitchens, storage rooms, healing surfaces, touchless, right? It goes on and on. And then, the home's all about people and pets. You got to remember a few things. 33% of all millennials started their entire home buying journey because they wanted a new home for their dog. They did not start the journey for themselves. They started the journey because they had a pet. And I know this to be true. My daughter did the same thing. She was in an apartment, she got a dog, she bought a house. It was that simple. So how do we build houses for dogs? How many of you have dog options right now? How many have dog options? How many have dog showers? How many have a pull-out dog feeding tray underneath the sink in wasted space? Right? Here's some astonishing statistics for you. There's $110 billion spent on pets in the United States. 72% of households have one. They spend $1,500 a year on average for every single pet. Over 60% want built-in pet space in their home. Built-in pet space. 50% will pay for an outside pet washing station. 10% of boomers said they'd spend up to $10,000 on their home for space and options and accessories for their pet in the home, structural options. But we don't offer them. It's a blue ocean that's just sitting there. All right, number 16. We got to open some new channels. It says G, so new channels of customers. Very first one, foreign buyers. Why foreign buyers? It's really simple. It's just chart down below. That's the Mexican peso to the US dollar. In the last year, the Mexican peso has appreciated 20% against the US dollar. Every Mexican looks at US property now and goes, look how cheap it is. See, we're sitting here going, oh my God, it's going up and inflation and house prices went up 8% or 9%. They're going, oh my God, it's on sale. It's cheaper now than it was 3 years ago. Because of the appreciation of the peso. 80% of Mexican buyers are cash buyers. So what's your strategy? How many of you have an active strategy to sell property to Mexican buyers? But there are companies out there like Compra Casa USA and Desca that's exactly what they do. They find Mexican buyers, 100% cash buyers, to come and buy your homes, and they think they're all on sale. And you don't have to reduce the price at all because they're 20% less than they were last year. Number two, we talked about all the new demographics, the single occupant, one bedroom homes. We talked about aging in place jewel box homes. We talked about multi-gen homes. We talked about all those things. If you don't offer them today, if you offer them tomorrow, those are whole new markets for you. So those, again, are completely new markets. Number 18, move to where the demand is. We have a record number of people now moving to a different part of the country than we have ever had before. 26% of all movers now are moving to completely different parts of the country. And a big part of that now, you can see the average distance moved has gone from 15 to 50 miles. And the increase in rural shoppers is up 19%. The increase in small town shoppers is up 29%. Why is that? Work from home. They don't have to live in San Diego anymore. They don't have to live in Austin. They don't have to live in Raleigh, North Carolina. Prices have gotten out of control. They can move to more remote areas, smaller towns, right? Where they have different kind of living, different kind of cost of living. So we may need to start thinking about our footprint. If you're a Raleigh buyer, then what's 50 miles away from Raleigh? What's 70 miles away? What small towns could you actually start to build in and still manage that if you're a regional builder? And I know that stresses you out, but let me tell you, those markets are underserved, grossly underserved. And some of the highest margins I've ever seen from builders are small regional builders building in small markets. Why? Because it's a blue ocean. There's nobody else building there. And you could be the person doing that. But I bring this up because build better is really important. We got into some really bad habits during COVID. And some of it wasn't our fault. Some of it was supply chain problems. Some of it was labor problems, right? We got to the point where it was taking us over a year to build even production homes. We were selling homes that weren't even finished, and we'd have to come back and install appliances or different things, right, after the close. I mean, we got sloppy as an industry. And at 8% prime rate, it's not time to be sloppy. The supply chain issues are fixed. We've all got to start looking now, are you on a 60-day build schedule? And if you're not on a 60-day build schedule, then why not? What's missing? This is back again to this blue ocean strategy. What industry standards should you lower? Time to build, right? How much capital do you need to invest to start up each community? How many people do you need to hire to start up each community? We need new models. You got to centralize sales in regions because you're not going to be able to hire salespeople. You've got to do remote entry so people can get in homes by themselves and tour homes by themselves. You got to use virtual design centers so that you don't have to build design centers. We've got to get smart about how we spend our money. I'm not talking about spending. I'm actually talking about making money, earning, and being prosperous and successful in the business. That's my objective. So we got to figure out how to be capital light, how to be human resource light, how to reduce our cycle times, have fewer labor hours, and material efficiency. Those are good questions we should be asking every trade partner, every professional partner that we have in our business, because all of those will determine whether or not we will survive and thrive in this new market. So with that, I will start to wrap up. This may be overwhelming. Some of you may be sitting here right now going, that's just too much, we can't do it. And I have one more strategy for you that will be perhaps easier. If you can't do the things that I've just talked about, then you can at least legalize marijuana. Now, I know you're thinking, oh, that's just a joke. No, I'm actually super serious about this because I've done the research. States that have legalized cannabis saw a 49% boost in home appreciation over states that did not legalize cannabis. And here is the map, okay? And here is the data. And you can see that the states, so it's really simple. We had 8 concepts. We had 22 initiatives and strategies you can execute, or you can just go legalize marijuana. I don't care what you do, and it's no indication of myself of what I'm trying to do. I live in Texas, right? And we're not one of those states, so it is what it is. But I'm just telling you, it's an alternative strategy. Think about it. Write it down on your list. Have a debate amongst your staff. All right. So why are you here? Why aren't you someplace else? It's real simple. There's a guy by the name of Geoffrey West who's a theoretical physicist. He works for the Santa Fe Institute. And he determined that there was correlation between creativity and superlinear scaling. And superlinear scaling is beyond exponential. It's scaling to the quarter power. So this is like, massive scaling. What he determined is that if you associate with 10 times more people, you will be 17 times more creative. And some of these problems won't quite be so daunting. So have a great conference. Thank you very much for your time. John, it's all up to you.